What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sector for Nerds, and welcome to another episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars Retro Discussions. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 20, Innocence of Ryloth. Before we begin this video, you guys, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to leave your questions, comments, anything you want me to talk about Clone Wars Season 1 in the comments below this video, or I should also have a community post up from maybe like a week or so ago at this point. I'm confused on my timeline right now of when that goes up versus the time of when this goes up. But anyway, that post should be up, so just go find it, put your comments down below there. Because after we finish all of the Clone Wars Season 1 episodes, I am going to be doing on Christmas Day an episode where I talk about Clone Wars Season 1, my thoughts on it overall as a season, and then answering your guys' questions and comments as well. I think it'll be a fun video for you guys, especially for, those who either, are looking for something to do on Christmas Day, have a little bit of entertainment from me. You guys will have it. But for now, you guys, let's get into this episode. This episode was directed by Justin Ridge and written by Randy Stradley and Henry Gilroy. The cookie for this episode: the cost of war can never be truly accounted for. I'm telling y'all, the last, how many cookies now that we've had have just, rung so freaking true. Alright, well, guys, it's the moment that some of y'all have been waiting for. Intro guy, take it away. Invasion! Separatist leader Wat Tambor has taken control of the planet Ryloth and subjugates its people through a brutal droid occupation. In a daring surprise attack, Jedi Anakin Skywalker and his Padawan Ahsoka Tano defeated the space blockade guarding the planet. Now, Jedi Generals Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi lead a massive invasion to liberate the starving people. Thank you, intro guy. Do incredible work as always. Keep it up. I'm gonna tell y'all out of the gate, this is one of my favorite episodes of Season 1. I think one of the reasons I always enjoyed this episode so much is because this is the first time that we get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi on basically a solo mission. In terms of he's without Anakin. It's just him, Commander Cody, the boys, all that. But this is our first, really when you think about it, it's our first singles mission with Obi-Wan. Their whole objective for this episode is they have to take the city of Nabat. That's where they're gonna have their landing zone. But more importantly than any of that, you guys, in this episode, we get Wat Tambor's malfunction noise. Just immediately when he starts talking, he's like, what? We talked about it a little bit last week, and I found that whole thing funny. Every time I do it now, I just add the sound effect in, so every time I go, but he's not our main villain for this episode. Last week we had him appear for a little bit, but it was Martuk who was the villain for this episode, or for last episode. And for this episode, it's a tactical droid. We're gonna see a lot of these guys throughout the Clone Wars, but their whole thing is these droids are pretty intelligent. They're good at, strategic analysis and calculating stuff, leading battles. The droid is using the prisoners of the village as, living shields, putting them, in the line of fire of the... Well, not, directly in the line of fire of the cannons, but, setting them up around the cannons. So, if the Republic tried to open fire on them, they'd probably be wiping out a lot of innocent people. Frickin' cowards. The clones gotta take the planet back the hard way, so that means droid poppers and blasters only. No rockets, no detonators. And I'm like, son of a nutcracker. I just quoted Elf right there. 'Tis the time of the season at this recording, I guess.
Ow! Son of a nutcracker!
This is another episode, kind of like last week, where there were a lot of added scenes in the episode that they didn't air on Cartoon Network. The first that I can think of is when they're taking out the towers, right? When the clones get down to the ground, they're going after, these droids in these bunkers, right? And they're chucking bombs, but they can't get there, so Obi-Wan's like, try again, I'll give you a push, and then he uses the Force. That extra dialogue that was there, I don't recall being on Cartoon Network first time around.
Let's take them out, now!
We've got to get closer to the wall!
Try again, I'll give you some help.
But two clones that we're introduced to in this episode, according to Cody, are, his best men, Boyle and WAXER.
Send your best men to scout ahead.
Will do, sir. Boyle, Waxer, come with me. guess we're the best.
And they're just going on a little recon mission. Cody's doing a recon mission. And while they're on their way, they find this little girl.
It's just a little girl. Well, what are we gonna do with her? Whoa. Why do we have to do anything? We've got a mission to finish. But we should do something. I say we take her with us. You can't be serious. She'll only slow us down.
The little girl, funny enough, was voiced by Catherine Tabor, who voices Padme in the Clone Wars, so she's no stranger to the show. I feel like this episode, it really shows, like, what the real cost of war is, and I think that was something that Dave, when watching through the behind the scenes of this episode, was something that he talked about, and he felt that doing more episodes like this, if they would do more episodes like this, is where Clone Wars would be at its best. That was Dave's opinion.
It was another one of the episodes where we would sit down with George afterward and I would say, I really want every episode to start feeling like this. It's all working. Mm-hmm. We still have the fun episodes, the silly episodes from time to time, but this is where I think, we're at our best.
But I think the scene that really hits you, that's really meant to hit you in this episode, is when they find Numa's home. And Numa's the name of the little girl. We find that out a little bit later. We can get onto that. But they go to her home, and, Waxer and Boyle are there, and they have, like, this really sad music playing. You can see that the place is destroyed. And what went from this little girl who was just playing around, having fun with the clones, looked like nothing was happening to her. But that moment when she goes back home, and she picks up the little doll and immediately starts crying. It's funny because one of the things that, when I was watching through this episode, and I don't normally bring up, like, real world stuff that goes on, just because I always find, like, my channel to be, like, an escapism, not realism. But one of the things that I just couldn't help but think about when, watching this episode is, like, thinking about all of the wars that are going on around the world right now, and just thinking about, like, how many families have lost their homes, how many, children that lose their homes, lose family members, and it was one of those moments that, like, when I was watching through this episode again and watching Numa get emotional, like, it even got me a little bit emotional, and I've seen this episode, like, 1,000 times. Like, I never do that for this episode. Like, obviously it's sad. I've always acknowledged that it's sad, but, like, it really did hit me this time. And then you have Waxer and Boyle, who, like, are very much like the bigger brothers that are like, it's okay, we're here to help, we'll keep you safe.
Okay now. We're here to help.
She keeps calling them Nara throughout the episode. Nara. And we're trying to figure out, like, what does that mean? We find out at the very end of that episode from Obi-Wan, who can apparently speak Twi'lek. We'll get more on that shortly. But he says Nara. It means brother. And apparently that was Henry Gilroy's idea.
When you wrote the line about her seeing them and calling them brothers, and you find out at the end that that's all she meant, that simple word, brothers.
So, what is that she keeps calling us?
Nera. It means brother.
It's really touching to me, and it's really a good story of what Star Wars ultimately can be about.
Of the two brothers you had, like, Waxer was obviously the much more caring one throughout the episode, because Boyle was just like, well, why do we have to do anything with this girl? Like, let's just move on. She's only going to slow us down. Let's just get back to what we need to be doing. And Waxer's like, no, we got to take her with us. Boyle didn't seem to care, but then, like, at the moment when they get to her home, and she breaks down crying, and, she's like, I'll keep you safe, kid, I promise. And then, like, Numa goes from hugging Waxer and just runs to hug Boyle. Getting back to Obi-Wan, because this, like I said, this is also an Obi-Wan episode. And one of my favorite parts of this episode is we get to see, like, the full power of frickin' Jedi General Obi-Wan Kenobi in this episode, because he uses beast control on, like, an entire herd of Gutkers. They're, like, sitting there wiping out his army. The droids end up starving them, right? So when they rush them out there, they're hungry for fresh meat. They see the clones, they're like, here's my dinner. And then they start eating them all up, and Obi-Wan's like, all right, we gotta put a stop to this real quick, and starts beast controlling all, like, an entire herd of them. We see Anakin use this ability on a Reek in Attack of the Clones, but here it's like we're seeing one Jedi take an entire herd and just with the Force is like, all right, I got these guys. Now eventually he loses control of it, but he's able to do it long enough to get them trapped, and the clones can then shoot the bridge supports that are above. It can crash down, keep them stuck, and then, luckily for Obi-Wan, he is able to get himself out of it, and Cody hands him his lightsaber, and I wrote down in my notes for this episode, well, that's not the last time that Cody does that.
Oh, by the way, I think you'll be needing this.
Thank you, Cody.
Yeah, and then this is where we also find out that apparently Obi-Wan can speak Twi'lek. Waxer and Boyle end up escaping with Numa through the underground tunnels, and they end up meeting up with Obi-Wan, Cody, and the boys. And Cody's like, where you two slackers been? And they're like, sir, there's an explanation. We got sidetracked. Obi-Wan looks down at Numa, is like, I think I see what sidetracked you.
Waxer, Boyle, where have you two slackers been? Sir, there is an explanation. We got sidetracked.
I think I see what sidetracked you.
He asks her, like, in Twi'lek, do you know how to get through the vents, I would assume, right? And I assume her answer was yes, and then she also said Nair in there, so probably something about her brothers, too. Like I said, Obi-Wan episode. I love it.
Hello, little one.
She brought us here through the tunnels. Who knows the way around them pretty good, sir.
Lunala John Willow?
Yana, Wanera, Kuminera.
The girl can lead us through the tunnel to the prisoners. Cody, we're going to need a diversion.
Obi-Wan has always been one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, so anytime that we get Obi-Wan Kenobi doing stuff on screen, like, it's always a joy for me. So Cody and the boys gotta distract the droids, and they gotta go up against some tanks too, so kind of, reckless move a little bit, considering that they have no artillery like that, but they gotta hold off, the enemy until Obi-Wan, Waxer, Boyle, they can get the people out into safety. There's one droid that Waxer and Boyle end up shooting, and I swear, they shot the droid more times than the clones shoot Ayla during Order 66. I'm just like, he's already dead. Obi-Wan ends up he frees the prisoners, he hijacks a cannon, and, with some help from Waxer and Boyle, they take out the other cannons as well.
Ready, General.
The tactical droid returns with his tank, but luckily, with some help from the Peoples, they're able to defeat the tactical droid.
You lose, General Kenobi.
You lose, General Kenobi.
Windu arrives with the reinforcements, and then, it's like, all right, good job. Now we have a more difficult task of taking the capital and freeing this world. And just like that, sets up the final part of this arc. That's why I said this arc is just so amazing, and the fact that each episode, you guys, it's all about a different character, and they're doing such a great job of relaying, like, all right, what's going to happen this time? So, the end of the last episode, it's like, all right, let's get the troops on the ground. Let's do the ground assault. Now it's, okay, now we need to take the capital. Very good job. Oh yeah, the reason why we find out Numa's name is because this man comes down and says her name. I think that's her uncle. I feel like I remember that being a thing. I thought Numa was a nice addition to this episode, and it provided such a different dynamic for the episode and making it what it was. This is not the last time that we see Numa in Star Wars. And the moment when she shows up, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was her. It's in Star Wars Rebels, for those who don't know. For those who haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, Numa, who at this point is a grown-up adult, still on, like, the younger side, like a younger adult. She's with Cham Syndulla, and Cham Syndulla is a character that we're going to talk about next episode, but he's like, yeah, these are two of my finest warriors, Numa and Kobe. And I'm like, wait, Numa, like, The Numa? Like the little girl Numa? After we're done talking about Clone Wars, you guys, whenever that moment comes, we're gonna do this same style of show, but with Star Wars Rebels, so I very much look forward to that as well. But for now, you guys, I don't think I have that much more to say about this episode. Again, I don't think this was my favorite episode of Clone Wars Season 1, but it's definitely in my top 5. The stuff that we got with Obi-Wan Kenobi, seeing Commander Cody again, introducing us to Waxer and Boyle and getting their story in, their interactions with Numa and making her a part of the story, giving it a different feel to it. Everything about this episode, you guys, absolutely fantastic. I have no complaints. Actually, I do have one complaint, is that we didn't get enough Wat Tambor. We got him a couple times, right? Because otherwise we don't get to hear... We had him for like 1 or 2 scenes, but he wasn't a major part of this whole episode. But that's okay, because next week we're gonna get plenty of Wat Tambor. Most of next week is just gonna be me going... Oh, everybody get ready. We're gonna have loads of fun. But for now, you guys, that is gonna wrap us up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.